March 4th, 1904, Volume 6. The Soul Must Live Up High. One who lives up high cannot be harmed. As I was very afflicted, and in suffering because of the loss of my good Jesus, I saw him for just a little, and he told me, "My daughter, your soul must try to maintain the flight of an eagle, that is, to dwell up high, above all the low things of this earth, and so high that no enemy may harm it. In fact, one who lives up high can harm the enemies, but cannot be harmed. And she must not only live up high, but must try to have purity and sharpness of eye, similar to those of an eagle. Though living up high, through the sharpness of her sight, she penetrates the divine things, not in passing, but by chewing them to the point of making of them her favorite food, despising any other thing. And she also penetrates the necessities of her neighbor, nor is she afraid to descend into their midst and do good to them. And if needed, she lays down her life. Through the purity of her sight, she makes the love of God and the love of neighbor from 2 to 1, rectifying everything for God. So must the soul be if she wants to please me. March 4th, 1906, Volume 7. Jesus Jokes with Luisa. Continuing in my usual state, I was saying to myself, "Lord, manifest your will to me, whether I must be in this state or not. What would you lose? It is a yes or a no that you need to say." While I was saying this, blessed Jesus made himself felt in my interior and told me, "My daughter, I say that I want you to go out of this state of victim, but if you do it, woe." And if you yourself tell me that you would want me to go out of it, should I not do it? And he, I must say it to you, push you, make violence on you, and you must not do it, because a daughter who is always with her father must know the temperament of the father, the time, and the cause. She must ponder everything well, and if needed, she must dissuade her father from giving her this command. And I have not done it because obedience does not want it. And he without giving me time, and if they allow you to, woe to the one who does it. On hearing this, I said, "Lord, it seems that this time you want to tempt me and create many embarrassments for me. I myself don't know what to do." And he, "I wanted to joke a little bit with you. Do spouses not joke with each other sometimes? And could I not do likewise?" March 4th, 1918, Volume 12. Firmness Produces Heroism. Continuing in my usual state, I was lamenting to Jesus about my poor state, and he told me, "My daughter, courage. Do not move in anything. Firmness is the greatest virtue. Firmness produces heroism, and it is almost impossible for one not to be a great saint. Rather, as she keeps repeating her acts, she forms 2 bars, one to the right and the other to the left, which serve her as support and defense, and as she reiterates her acts, a fount forms in her of new and increasing love. Firmness strengthens grace, placing on it the seal of final perseverance. Your Jesus does not fear that his graces may remain without effects, and therefore I pour them in torrents over a constant soul. There is not very much to expect from a soul who works today and tomorrow does not, who now does some good and now some other. She will not have any support, and will be bounced now to one point, now to another. She will die of starvation, because she will not have the fount of firmness which makes love arise. Grace fears to pour itself, because she will abuse it and use it to offend me. March 4th, 1934, Volume 33. The acts done in the divine will form the ways. They embrace the centuries. The one who forms the prison. The divine engineer and the insuperable craftsman. My poor intelligence is always going around in the divine fiat in order to meet with his acts, uniting myself with them, to court them, love them, and be able to tell him, I have the love of your acts in my power. Therefore I love you as you love me, and what you do, I do. Oh, how beautiful it is to be able to say, I have disappeared in the divine will, and therefore its strength, its love, its sanctity, its operation is mine. We take one single step. We have one single motion and one single love. And the divine will all in feast, it seems that it says, how content I am not alone any more. I feel in myself one heartbeat, one motion, one will that runs in me, and fused together never leaves me alone, and she does what I do. So while my mind was lost in the divine volition, I thought to myself, but what good are these acts of mine done in the divine will? While I do not do anything, it does everything itself, and since I am together within it, it tells me I do what it does, and it says it with reason, since being in it and not doing what it does is impossible, because its power is so much that it invests my nothingness and makes it do what the all does. Nor can it do, nor does it know how to do differently. So my sweet Jesus, surprising me with his brief little visit, told me, my little daughter of my will, how beautiful it is. The creature cannot receive greater honor than that of becoming admitted within it. The instants, the little acts done in it, embrace centuries. And since they are divine, they are invested with such power that what one wants to do with them, everything he can do and everything he can obtain. The divine being remains bound in these acts, because they are his acts, and he must give them the value that they merit. Besides this, you must know that the acts done in my will form the ways that must serve souls in order to let them enter into it. And they are so very necessary that if heroic souls do not first come forth to live in it, in order to form the principal ways of its kingdom, the generations not finding the ways will not know what to do in order to enter into my will. My daughter, in order to form a city, first the ways are formed, that form the order that a city must have, and then the foundations are cast in order to construct it. If the ways are not formed, the exits, the communications that it must have are not formed, there is the danger that instead of a city, the citizens could form for themselves a prison, because the ways not being provided, they do not know where to go out. Do you see how necessary the ways are? Now the city without way is the human will that, closed in its prison, has closed all the ways in order to enter into the celestial city of my divine will. Now the soul who enters into it breaks the prison, knocks down the unhappy city without ways, without exits, and united with the power of my volition, the divine engineer forms the plan of the city, orders the ways, the communications, and acting as insuperable craftsman, forms the new citadel of the soul with such mastery has to form the ways of communication in order to let other souls enter and form so many citadels in order to be able to form a kingdom. The first will be the model of the others. See, therefore, what the acts done in my will serve. They are so very necessary for me that without them the way would be lacking in order to let it rain. Therefore I want you always in my will. Never come out of it if you want to render your Jesus content. End of March 4th. Fiat.